Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on in to the PSP Podcast, featuring your friendly host, Percussive 173. Let's freaking go! I downed him! Oh, I got it! 508 meters! I'm pushing everything right now. He gets to Lockman. Dude, this Lockman is so good! Oh my god, I'm disgusting! So what do you think about that play, huh? What were your thoughts?
Not very smart, man. Not very smart, man.
It happens, man. Hey, well, come back. We'll try it again, okay?
Very smart, man.
It happens. I'm just gonna shit on him. He's dead. Did I just ace? I just ace. Let's go.
Just take a funky jazz with him.
Easy triple. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to have you be a part of the PSP Podcast. And I'm your friendly host, Percussive 173, and let's have a freaking party. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on into the PSP Podcast. My name is Percussive173, and as always, the PSP Podcast stands for Perc Spreads Positivity, because my goal as a content creator is to spread positivity in any way that I know how. And today, I am super excited to bring in somebody who's both a badass on the sticks and a badass in the gym. He's locked in. He's locked in on the screen and also on the squat rack, and that's going to be TcaptainX. Whether he's grinding, whether he's doing anything that he's doing, he's strong, he's smart, he's disciplined. And we're going to talk about balance today. We're going to talk about burnout. We're going to talk about energy. We're going to talk about pretty much like everything associated as gamers and kind of what they're missing when it comes to fitness and gaming at the same time. And honestly, I'm real excited to have this episode because there's a lot, as you guys can see, I have a lot of work to do on my physical stuff as well, but I'm very excited to have this conversation. So let's welcome on in TcaptainX. T-Cap, how we doing today?
What's up? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. How you doing? How's your day going? And what, you want to talk a little bit about yourself so people that don't know you?
Yeah. The day is good. I'm actually, after this, I'm celebrating my birthday. So, I mean, we're
birthday.
It's a good way to start it. Yeah. Thank you.
Let's get happy birthdays in chat to T-Cap. Let's go.
But yeah, for those that don't know me, you know, I'm TcaptainX. I've been streaming since pretty much 2020. I dabbled a little bit before that, but didn't start taking it serious till Warzone hit, basically. Being what I would consider a full-time content creator since about 2022. And still doing that to this day. Original background's actually as a nurse, so nothing related, but yeah, that's me.
Well, awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on in. You started where in the content world? What made you actually decide to start streaming?
So I probably first started streaming a little bit in like 2018 or so when I got my first PC with Fortnite. And that was just
Fortnite?
Because That was just because one of my work buddies, we would play together and I thought I was pretty good. And he was like, yeah, man, you should stream. Cause that was right when streaming was kind of becoming a thing. It's when Ninja was popping off and, people like that. And I was like, why not? That sounds fun. And so in the first, kind of 2 years, I was extremely inconsistent, never made content. It was just streaming. And it was averaging 2 viewers, which was one of them was myself usually. So, it was nothing serious. It wasn't until when Warzone came out, COVID hits, we have nothing to do. I'm working as a nurse. And so my job itself was relatively stressful because we're caring for COVID patients. And then, we're locked at home. I'm working night shift. My sleep's, I'm not even seeing sunlight basically. And it was actually my wife that she started messing around making her own TikToks, not gaming related, obviously, but she was having some success and just having fun with it because there was nothing else to do at the time. She's like, why don't you make TikToks on your gaming content? You're good at it, you enjoy it. And I'm like, why not? So, I downloaded DaVinci Resolve and started.
DaVinci.
Yeah, it started with the most basic stuff. It was just like, okay, how do you cut and put clips together? And that was it. Like my first few TikToks were literally that. And then, I just, started watching like Finzar. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He's
I've not seen him.
He makes, how to editing videos, and he is insanely entertaining and hilarious. And so he was someone where I was just kind of like mesmerized as far as like how funny he made his videos, and it was all gaming related. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start learning this. And of course my editing was nowhere near what his was, but it all just started with like, I'm gonna start, telling a story. I'm gonna start showing people how to do things. And it really just one thing led to another. I think when I had my first kind of like quote viral video, I was hooked when I had that moment happen, and I was like, okay, how do I replicate this? And yeah, eventually one thing led to another until the point where I was extremely successful on YouTube Shorts when that dropped. I had several videos do extremely well there, and so my YouTube channel grew from like 1,000 subscribers to like 100,000 within a few months thanks to Shorts. And I started streaming on YouTube, which was far more successful than what I was doing on Twitch. And yeah, we just kept growing it until the point where I was like, you know what, I can go part-time at work, and eventually till I was full-time. So.
And COVID was such an interesting time for like the gaming world, because like we had everybody who was unable to like go out of their house. Everybody was staying locked in and secluded. We actually had such a weird surgence. I don't want to say it was a resurgence, but it started like the streaming industry just started surging with like newer creators, different creators making TikToks. I actually grew via my dancing videos, funny enough, on a completely different account, which I'm not stating that name, but because I don't want to show off my dancing videos. But it's really kind of funny to like see like the evolution of like how TikTok just kind of blew up in like 21 and like 22 and like in the middle of the COVID years, and like see how people could like learn how to edit videos. And dude, your content's phenomenal. I watch your content a lot because like when it comes to like the mind of content and like creating of the content and downloading things like DaVinci Resolve and like putting the pieces together, you do it really well. Like you find the dead spaces, you cut the dead spaces, you do all the little tips and tricks like to keep people engaged. Like what is something that you do, and we'll get into the fitness stuff soon, but what is some stuff that you do when it comes to content to be able to move things forward and keep people engaged?
Where I first found my initial success was educational, like how-to videos. So my first ever viral video was how to get the Juggernaut back in Warzone. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh yeah.
There was like a kind of a code thing you had to do. You could go become the Juggernaut, and essentially you were like guaranteed to win if you did that. So that was the first thing. And then, after that, I then kind of had success following what some other creators were doing, people of the storytelling likes of the Lucci's, the Sally is a Dog, Corrupt, people that were doing these very like, they were taking clips and making them feel very epic and dramatic. And so I had a clip that really, when I look back at it, it was such a basic, it was just a nice little quick scope that I did, but I let it up and I created the story out of it, and it just went insanely viral, did several million views on multiple platforms, and grew hundreds of thousands of followers literally off that one single post. And so that's when I figured out that, okay, when you can tell a story and you can set it up that people want to find out what's going to happen at the end, that is going to be your ultimate success. So how do you hook people in and create that curiosity? And then where I really found my most enjoyment out of it was combining the two of education and storytelling. So my like personal favorite types of videos that I was making when like Rebirth was new, was extremely popular, Resurgence in general, stuff like that, was taking where I'm breaking down end games of like what's going through my thought process, why this is beneficial to do this and not this. And it was a combination of like, these people are, they see, this insane zone pool. It's a 1v4, how is he going to pull this off? But then also getting the benefit of, oh, okay, I can also take this and apply this to my own game. And not only did I get an entertainment effect out of this, but I also got a educational effect out of this.
And that's really awesome to kind of see people like push those things together. Because when I had Bad Bear Gamer was on my podcast, like when in like season 1, like over a year ago, it was him and the Only Shady. And Bad Bear Gamer made this comment where in order to stand out in this industry that is so oversaturated, and especially in a game like Call of Duty, you have to know the 3 E's of content, being either entertaining, educational, or empathetic. And understanding that if you hit one of those niches, that's where you can really see yourself starting to grow. I'm in a different bud when it comes to my content. I make goofy videos, I make funny videos, where I'll troll people in like Warzone or Search and Destroy. I mean, I'll still hit nasty snipes. I don't like aim assist, even though I use a controller. I'm a weird one when it comes to COD. Like, everyone gives me shit for it. But like, I think aim assist messes with sniping. But I do things where I like to troll people, where like I'll do like little spins and like run around people, or I'll do like, well, the emergence of the meat shield in today's thing, where I just kind of like ask people like where they went wrong. But like, seeing someone thrive in like the educational side of things and then kind of divulge their content even more in moving into a fitness environment, like to be able to try to educate people on that, it's really freaking cool. And like, for those of you guys who are not following TCap, please make sure you're following him. Go check out his content. I'm not trying to glaze because I don't do that, but no, seriously, like, it's really cool to see somebody go from that, like, blow up during COVID, be consistent with your content. Because like, people have this, new creators have this philosophy, and I'm going to kind of delve it back into this here. Where they think that they could just hit the live button and people are just going to find them and grow. What's your response to people who have that mentality?
So many people, a lot of probably like younger teenage kids come into my stream and they're like, how do I grow and be like you? And it's my answer every time is, you don't grow through streaming, you grow through content. You have to, especially in the early stages, you have to prioritize content. And it's hard because there's a discipline kind of required where anybody can go live and stream. It's fun to do that, especially when you start building up just a little bit of an audience and you have some people chatting with you and whatnot, and you're playing. It's a lot of fun to do that. But you are going to at best stay stagnant doing that. And so having the discipline to be like, okay, instead of me streaming for 6 hours a day, I'm going to stream for 3, and I'm going to spend the other 3, recording, planning ideas, creating, editing content, XYZ. And that is hands down how you grow. Like, if someone comes to my stream, I think it's entertaining. I think I'm a decent enough player. I think I check the boxes of someone they're going to enjoy my stream. But from a streaming perspective, I do not stand out enough compared to all of the other, extremely high skilled players, the people that are all about just being, a big, huge personality. Like, am I decent? Yes. Do I have somewhat of a personality? Sure. But I am not S tier in any of those categories. And so the only way that I'm going to draw someone to come watch me versus, a Biffle or an Aiden, the top players, or whoever the most entertaining, Bobby Pop or whoever that may be, is I need to show value in another way. And so what I learned was my skill was I'm pretty good, I think, at being able to explain things and take, a concept that might seem confusing to someone and really break it down and simplify and walk somebody through that. As far as the educational stuff goes. So yeah, I mean, if you're looking to grow and be serious, I would be spending the vast majority, more than 50% of your time should go towards how do you create content? How do you make your content valuable to others so that people want to come back for more? And applying your own spin on it to where you're not just doing exactly what everybody else is doing.
And that's really key too, is like applying your own spin, taking things from the great creators and just applying them to yourself, but not copying their content like verbatim. Like, I see this happening to Shady a lot, and I love Shady to death. He's an amazing human being, and like I love his channel. But like, I see people literally taking his content like pretty much almost exactly, and like, it's you're never gonna grow as yourself or define yourself as a creator in this streaming industry unless you do things on your own.
Yeah.
One in like 95, I preach this whenever I talk to people about streaming and content. 95% of what we do, what you guys see as like viewers, is done offline. Not just video editing, not just like time management and skill orientation, but we have to have that mentality of self-reflection and introspection. We do watch our own streams. We watch our own VODs. We watch our content Like, I honestly, my last video, I probably watched 75 to 100 times. And the reason why is because we want to see the analytics. We want to see when people jump off the content and scroll and swipe away. Because the goal as content creators is to have an amazing hook and to keep people around. And I see that with your content around. You definitely hook people in. So let's talk about that time management. Let's talk about some of the stuff that we do online. What do you think is the streamer's biggest thing to be able to manage while not on the live screen?
Probably a lack of just a somewhat decent schedule. I think a lot of the streamers, they just they get in that hook where they kind of get to a point where they've built up enough of an audience where they just stream, and then they kind of fall off the content wagon, even though they recognize that early. And then I would just, taking the time to plan. So I see a lot of people that they get started, they see a lot of success, and then instead of going back and analyzing what that success was, they're just kind of like spitballing and freeballing, and they don't really go in with it with a schedule. And so for me, I kind of went through this myself in Warzone 1. I was still working as a nurse. I was working 12-hour shifts, at night, and I had the most just horrible schedule for myself. It was not good. And then even when I went full time, it was still just such a chalked sleep schedule. I was still kind of on that like night shift routine of being up till 3-4 a.m. on those nights, sleeping in. And I just, it was be at the computer all day long. And like, there was never that balance of taking care of myself, seeing friends and family, like my wife. And so that for me, what really changed things was, I kind of had a wake up call during the Warzone 2 era where I was like, I need to make a change. I was very frustrated with the state of the game at that time. Warzone
Aren't we all though with COD?
Well, that's valid. I mean, at the end of Warzone 1, I was so in love with the game. I had so much fun. And like, I legitimately could stream 8 hours a day and be happy to make content for like 8 hours a day. And like, I was content. Like, I enjoyed the entire process. Warzone 2 hits, and it was like the first time where I was like, had extremely low passion to play the game. I was so frustrated, and didn't even want to make content on the game because I'm like, this game is so like, it was so bad. And so I'm like, okay, something needs to change. And so that was back when I was like, okay, I am making a good routine. I'm going to at least have a somewhat decent schedule, whereas I'm going to wake up, have a breakfast. I'm going to go get some sort of activity in. Then I'm going to come home, eat, and then actually have like, okay, from this time to this time, it's content time. I am planning, I'm editing, recording, whatever that may be. From this time to this time, I am streaming. And I just tried to stick to a good schedule. And I didn't have to be perfect. I wasn't like insane about it. But just getting that, like blocking time away for each of the different tasks, was very crucial for me, I think, of getting things kind of turned back around and getting like re-motivated into things.
I could definitely like agree with that. Like, time management and scheduling is huge when it comes to like the streaming world. Like, for example, I work a 9 to 5. I'm not going to tell you what I work, but I work a 9 to 5. And then on top of that, I have to spend the commute time to get home. I have to make dinner at a reasonable hour, so I'm not eating at like 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning and then going to bed. And then typically, like, my schedule is really weird because I only have about 4 to 5 hours a week to actually edit videos and edit content. So like, and people experience this when they're starting out as a streamer and they don't have that same amount of time that full-time content creators do until they realize how they can kind of put things together, what brands they can communicate to, and connect with and stuff like that. And like, when it comes to content and like creation and stuff like that, we have to have time. We have to make time for ourselves, and we have to make time to be in that good mentality so that we're not hitting the live button and just bored, and like, you can see that with people. You can see it in their eyes because we have these 4K cameras and a lot of us stream at high resolution. So it's really easy as a viewer for you guys to see that type of stuff. So that being said, like, let's talk a little bit about fitness, because a lot of gamers they spend so much time on the computer, and especially someone like me who works in technology, 90% of my day is actually at a computer. So what can we do to work fitness into our schedule?
The biggest, I guess, mistake or maybe misconception that I see around it is people assume like, oh, okay, if I'm going to do fitness or add that as part of my life, then that means I need to be going to the gym 5 times a week or something like that. It couldn't be farther from the truth. Honestly, when people are just getting started, and even if your goal is just overall health and longevity, literally like 2 hours a week is probably going to elicit you the greatest, bang for your buck, the greatest response for the least amount of work you have to put in. So, and that could look like, if you are someone who is extremely sedentary, you work a sedentary job, plus you come home and your hobbies are sedentary, like streaming or gaming. It could be as simple as you're going to try to go walk for 15 minutes a day. And ideally breaking that up into, multiple small walks. So if that means literally you go stretch your legs and walk around, up and down your, like to the parking lot or back or wherever it may be for 5 minutes after every meal, that alone there is going to be just a huge game changer for just very basic, health.
I actually never even thought about doing that after a meal. So that's super huge.
So a huge part of it is like, how do you make it a habit and a part of your routine? And so I always tell people, like, you want to habit stack things. So everyone eats, right? Like that's a given. Everyone's going to eat usually about 3 times a day. And so if you just say, okay, after every meal, you make time to go walk, whether that's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes per time, great. That's how you can be flexible. And then outside of that, I would say the biggest thing that's going to be the biggest bang for your buck is going to be some form of strength training. And so again, though, people have this misconception, you need to be doing a ton of it. Literally, like you could do it for an hour a week and it would be extremely beneficial to you. And so whether that looks like one day, like on your Saturday, you have time to go to the gym for an hour, great. That alone, as long as you're consistent, you will see massive health benefits. What I actually recommend to most people who are getting started, because it's if you only are going to do something once a week, it might be hard to kind of solidify that into your routine. So I'd rather you work out for 10 minutes a day, 5 to 6 days a week, something like that. And so maybe if you're at home, that's, you do some push-ups and some bodyweight squats and lunges, and maybe you have a pull-up bar or something like that. That alone, like literally 10 minutes a day of that consistency will be far better than you being inconsistent and trying to go to the gym and go super hard and then falling off and not going for a month or whatnot. So yeah, those would be really the 2 biggest things to get started. And then I would say the third, especially when it comes to gamers, that they struggle with, is going to be sleep and sleep habits. So making sure that you are getting, at least 7 hours of sleep consistently, and then probably just as, if not more importantly, sticking to a good schedule. So I think that's a big problem. Is a lot of people are decent about getting, 7 to 8-ish hours, or it might be like they get like 6 on the weekdays and then they sleep in and get like 9 or 10 on the weekends. I would rather see someone kind of balance that out and just stick to about waking up and going to bed around the same time every day, roughly. On the weekends, it's, totally makes sense. You sleep in like an extra hour. But the problem is when people are like, okay, they have a job and they're up at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. Monday through Friday. And then on the weekends, they stay up late, they game all night, and then they are waking up at like 11. That is completely throwing your just rhythm out. And so but then when Monday hits, you are just crazy jet lagged. And it's just like you're trying to play catch up the next 2-3 days and get your schedule back on. And then you ruin again the next weekend. So those would be kind of my 3: movement, very basic strength training, and then a regular sleep schedule would be my 3 that I would start with anybody.
And that's actually so critical because like you said it yourself, like even me going into this weekend, yesterday, like Friday night, I ended up staying up until about 1 or 2 in the morning, and I woke up at 11. Well, actually not 11. I woke up at 9:30. But typically I will wake up at 11. Like last week, that's what I did. And it's because like I didn't have really a consistent sleep schedule. But I do know that Friday is going to be my late night day where I try to stay up as late as I possibly can. Sleep is so important as a creator because without sleep, how are you going to make content? How are you going to have that mentality to like be able to read through your VODs like while you're editing your videos? Because people forget that as creators, we're our own audio engineers. You have to have a thriving mentality to be able to even think about that type of stuff, to be able to get the SFX and stuff like that onto your stream. whether it be through OBS or your mic settings, but like we have to be alert. And what you did is you put fitness into your whole life and you turned it into an entire like T-Fit, right?
Yep, TcaptainX.
Yeah, TcaptainX. So do you want to talk a little bit about TcaptainX? Do you want to like talk about like what you're doing with gamers and content creators?
Yeah, absolutely. So December of last year, so only about 6-7 months ago, decided to go and get certified as a personal trainer. So my original background, like I said, is as a nurse. So I have the medical health background. Always been very passionate about fitness, played college football as well. And so I was like, you know what, like my passion and my drive for Call of Duty has definitely gone down a lot over the last year, especially with the integration of Black Ops 6. It's been a bit rough. And I was like, I need to do something that I am passionate about. And I kind of was like, what am I spending most of my free, like if I'm on YouTube, what am I watching? It was almost always fitness content. And I genuinely enjoyed learning about it. And it was a major part in my life because in basically to sum things up quickly, I was in great shape when I graduated college in about 2017. COVID hits and I was still in good shape. And then I went to like all out into gaming and being successful as a creator. And when you are doing that, you are going to have to make sacrifices somewhere. And for me, it was like my sleep and my fitness were the two things I made the biggest sacrifice on, and also probably like relationships as well. And so fitness became a big part of my life again in about 2022. And it's been very regular since. And I recognized that I felt dramatically better when it was a part of my life, and that even my content and my streaming was thriving better when I added fitness as a part of it. So I got certified and I was like, you know what, we're going to start a new channel. And my goal is just like it was with Call of Duty, is like, let's help people get better at the game. Let's help people get better with their health and fitness, because I saw how much value it added to my life and I genuinely enjoyed it. So as far as what I do, as of right now, all of my personal training is online. So it's all online coaching. And what that looks like is, everyone I work with it's very custom to them. It's not like, someone signs up and it's like, okay, here's your cookie cutter program and, eat this and you'll see results. That's not how it works, because the goal is you have to meet people where they are. So one person, they maybe have been working out for a bit. They just don't know what to do with their diet and they struggle with other areas. Someone else, they might actually be really well with their diet, but maybe their fitness part is where they're limited. And it depends person to person. And so, with that, we're trying to recognize what that person's goals are. Is it build muscle? Is it lose fat? Is it more health? Is it maybe it's sport specific? And then drawing and creating a program that's unique to them. And then same with the nutrition aspect of, how can we make a nutrition plan that fits and adds value to your life instead of it trying to feel restrictive, like you have to follow a diet, that kind of thing. The last thing I want people to do is, oh my gosh, like I can't wait to be done with this diet, because then that's not going to stick around. The whole idea is for it to be long-term and sustainable and for it to become a part of your routine. And then, we touch on other areas like, lifestyle, which often is things like sleep, stress management. I do work with a lot of other content creators and streamers and gamers. It's kind of the vast majority of my clients, 99% of them are gamers, and several of them being other streamers. And the big thing also on top of all that to kind of round it up is the accountability aspect of every week I'm checking in with these people, and we have weekly check-ins where we're looking at lots of objective data. They're giving me feedback on how things are going, what they're struggling with. And then I'm just there as a resource to say, okay, these are things you're going to expect to have, this obstacle is going to be.
Looks like we had a little bit of technical difficulties.
If you're having trouble with this, let's implement here or change this. Oh, my back. Okay.
Yeah.
So again, just the accountability part.
They're actually a little laggy now, but hopefully that fixes itself out. But he's touching on something that's really important though, chat. Like accountability is something that a lot of people going into like the workouts, like sessions and the fitness stuff, that's stuff that people miss. And like it's awesome that someone like TCAP is actually putting this thing into motion for all different creators, because a lot of us, like within our schedule, we don't make that time. We don't make that time to pretty much self-reflect and do that stuff, because I talk about it all the time. 95% of what we do as content creators from a mentality perspective is introspection, and we have to be able to hold ourselves accountable. But sorry to cut things off. Hopefully things are back to normal here. It looks like they are. So I'll let you get back to talking a little bit more about your fitness program.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was kind of the 30,000 foot bird's eye view of kind of what we do. It depends a lot person to person. And so one person that comes to mind, I won't name them. They're a successful streamer that's actually been absolutely crushing it this year. And they were someone that, fitness, they were like me, where they went all in on making their dreams a reality and growing their content. And they kind of sacrificed their fitness, and they recognize that. But like one of the biggest things with that person that we worked on was obviously, starting to regularly work out, adjust their nutrition was important. But actually for them, it was more like, how can we create a schedule that makes you more productive and allows you to work in this fitness part of your life? Because when I was talking earlier about, some people, they get in this habit of just like, it's just stream all day. And then it's like, okay, I'm done streaming. It's midnight, but now I still have to make my content. I'm up till 4 a.m. making my content. So that was a big thing for them. It's like, I'm not telling you got to be up at 6 a.m. and every day and, be asleep by 9 and have your blue light blocking glasses on and be like crazy like that. It's got to work with your lifestyle. But for that person, it was just like, literally just like playing around. And this was like, it probably took us 2 months of playing and trialing different schedules of like, where are you most productive? Some people, they wake up and like their creative mind is going first thing in the morning. Other people, like they just do not function for the first 2 hours of the day. And that's fine. Yeah, that's fine if you're like that. And so there's a lot of like trial and error. And so for someone out there that's like wondering, like, I don't know where to get started, I would always say that what's going to move the needle the most is just start making movement a part of your day. So starting with the very small walks. The next step is going to be, okay, can we get some strength training in there? And that's going to look like, again, literally an hour a week, whether you go once a week for an hour, you go maybe 2 to 3 times for shorter sessions. If you have the time and you enjoy it and you want to go for 2 to 3 hours a week, great. But don't feel like you need to go for, every single day for an hour plus session, and that like it wasn't successful if you didn't come out, crawling and throwing up. That's not what we're looking for. But you need to ultimately find a way to enjoy it and make it a part of your lifestyle. And so what I really also have people try to focus on, instead of being like, okay, I want to be this weight. When I get to this weight, I'll be happy. Instead, I try to reframe things and be like, well, okay, let's say we've been working out together for maybe a month or two. What do you recognize is different from now until then? And that's almost always like, oh my gosh, my energy is so much better. I just feel more clear. My sleep is way better. I'm less anxious now for all of a sudden. That's actually insanely common for someone that you go from taking as being very sedentary to then, just a little bit of activity and sunlight. It's just amazing what it does. And so really trying to recognize from more almost like a performance standpoint, even if you're not like an athlete, recognize how you function better. And then usually how that turns into, whether if you're just a regular 9 to 5, or a student, how you're more productive, more focused, or if you're a content creator of, actually like I am way more energetic and just happier, and people notice I'm in a better mood on stream. And there's just so many cool like downhill effects that all these little things take place from.
Fitness is one of those things where it really helps you like just feel better. And like as a streamer, as a gamer, as a content creator, we gotta like be feeling good about ourselves, regardless of where we're at. And like burnout is a huge part, and a lot of that happens with burnout when people aren't actually focusing on themselves. They're solely focused on like, all right, so what can I do as a streamer to do it? I don't have enough time in my day. Like burnout happens because people get negative mentality towards themselves, and a lot of it has to do with their habits and mentality. So if you had to suggest to anyone who's thinking about trying to establish a new habit or a routine, what is your message to them?
Start with less than you think you need. Set the goals to be extremely realistic. And so that's why, again, back to like the fitness thing or the working out thing, instead of you setting this extremely high goal of, I want to lose 100 pounds, or I'm going to go to the gym 6 times a week. Set with something that 100% is feasible to do. So instead of you being like, I'm going to start going to the gym 5 times a week, it's twice a week. Instead of you like, I'm going to get 15,000 steps a day, it's I'm going to get like 6 or 7,000. So just set. And then once you do that, and then once that's been a habit for a few weeks and you find that you are either receiving benefits or you just enjoy it, then ask yourself, okay, does it make sense for me to maybe do a little bit more? Maybe instead of going to the gym twice a week, I'm gonna go 3 times a week. And just inch up. And so, you know, even when I started myself back in 2022-ish, was kind of like when I started getting back in shape and just going back to kind of my old self, I first started and I didn't have a plan, but I was like, you know what? Like when I have time, I'm going to go to the gym. And so it was like 4 times a week, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to get out of the house and I'm going to take my mind off of everything else. And then it was like, okay, now my nutrition, I recognize that sucks. And that's actually when I decided to hire a personal trainer back then. And that for me was even though I had all this knowledge, the accountability factor was massive for me. In educating myself. And so then I guess on top of that too is educate yourself. There are YouTube universities out there. There is a lot of bad information, but there's mostly a lot of really good information. There's a lot of great creators out there. You know, your Jeff Nippards, your Renaissance Periodization, Dr. Mike Israetel are 2 that I really enjoy. If you want to follow TcaptainX, I do stuff too. But, you know, go educate yourself and keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate things.
People forget that just like when it comes to fitness, that just like streaming, it's not instantaneous results. You're never just going to hit the live button and blow up. You're never just going to do a curl and magically have perfect arms like the freaking anime cartoons. But like it's crazy to think about. And it's like everything, it's like a long process. Like, so my situation is ridiculously weird. And I know TCap, you and I have talked about this a little bit. Like, I have been struggling with my weight for 10 years. I've had doctors look at me, they prescribe me different drugs, they've given me different things. Nothing's really worked. I've cut my diet down, like I do eat relatively well, but something in my metabolism is just not getting it. And like, we don't know what that is yet from a medical perspective or like from like whatever it is. And I do know that there's like habits that I have to form over time that are going to help me stay healthy. Right now, I feel healthy, but my body is just not taking the results. Something's missing there. But what is something that you recommend for people who are just kind of struggling? Are they not being real with themselves, or is there something that they can do to help?
So I have I think a different perspective on this than a lot of other people, I guess, in the space. Most people will always go back, you know, to okay, if you're overweight, you need to lose weight. It is all about, you know, calories in versus calories out. And so everyone's answer is always, you know, cut your calories and burn more calories, right? But, you know, you just, you know, said yourself, like you've been trying to do these things for a long time. And, you know, I know you and I've talked and you're like, I've been consistent and just haven't seen results. Why is that? And so it's very common that I have people come to me and they're like, yeah, I've been only eating, you know, 1,500 calories for the last 6 weeks and I haven't lost any weight and I feel like crap and I'm so frustrated. And so the reason, I guess, number one, the human metabolism is the most complex thing ever. Like even, you know, any doctor, PhD or whatever in, you know,
background in nursing, by the way. So this, just so
yes.
everyone knows.
And anyone who studies the metabolism will admit that we are like just scratching the surface at understanding it, right? And like, yes, calories in versus calories out. Yes, there's the laws of physics, and I get that, but people, I think, massively overestimate what the body is capable of in terms of finding balance and finding homeostasis. And so homeostasis is a fancy word for balance, basically. So I like to relate things back to like caveman times because they just kind of make things easier to understand. Is so our bodies want to have fat. Fat is a survival mechanism. And if you were a caveman back in the day and you had the ability to store fat, you were better prepared to survive that next famine or drought or whatever it was going to be. So when our bodies recognize that we're in a caloric deficit or we're not eating as much as we should, our bodies will make adjustments and shifts in order to preserve as much fat as they possibly can. So what I almost always do with like 99% of my clients when they come to me is no matter what if their goal is to lose a lot of body fat or it's just to build muscle, I am always saying, I don't want to worry about the number on the scale. I want to just go build and get stronger. And so And the only way that you build is being in a caloric surplus and properly fueling yourself. And so that's why, even someone like yourself, or you want to lose a lot of weight, I'm actually going to say, I don't want you to worry about your weight right now. For the next few months, I just want to go get stronger and put on muscle. Muscle is, and it's fine. Doctors in the medical community are finally coming around to this, that it's not, obesity is not necessarily the number one indicator of poor health. It's actually lack of muscle. So muscle is a storage vessel for things like glucose, which when we talk about diabetes and insulin sensitivity, the more muscle you have, the more protective it is for your body. And so when we kind of flip the script, instead of let's burn as much as we can and let's build as much as we can instead, the body recognizes that we're no longer in this kind of like famished state. And it's like, oh, cool. Okay. Like we are safe. We have plenty of food. We don't need all this body fat because we're good. We're getting plenty of food. And so what a very common situation that happens is I have someone who has been chronically dieting for a long time. They've been, very strict and eating very low calorie, and they're doing all sorts of cardio and all sorts of crazy stuff. And instead I say, okay, we're going to not worry about the cardio. I just want you to be active and go walk. We're going to strength train, and we're going to bump our calories up. Now, it's not as simple as, okay, eat as much as you want. It's normally, if I had to ultra simplify it, it's avoid processed foods. Let's stick to whole food, single ingredient items. Another way of thinking about this is it's the outside of the grocery store. So usually the aisles have more processed stuff that are in boxes and wrappers and things like that. And then usually those two things alone will get someone incredibly far. And I'll tell someone, eat until you are comfortably full. Don't worry about eating less. Eat until you feel good. And then, of course, we can get much more nuance into this about protein intake, and, always encouraging a high protein intake is going to be great. But when we go that way, the amount of times that I've had people that told me that they were eating as little as like 1,200 calories, and then we push them up to, beyond 2,000 calories, and their weight might not change a ton. They might still have, weight to lose, but their waist, they're like, I had someone, for example, who had probably, 50 to 100 pounds to lose. And in the first 2 months with me, lost 6 inches on their waist, and we doubled their calories. And it was just because their body was like, their body was freaking out, trying to like get ready for the famine, because they had been chronically dieting and their body was stressed and was not in a position where it felt like it could get rid of these body fat stores, because it felt like it needed it for whatever was going to happen. And so we flipped the script. We ate more, we ate high protein, and we strength trained like 3 to 4 times a week. Again, it wasn't any crazy workout program. And then no cardio. It was just, hey, go walk, try to hit like 7,000 steps if you can do that. And yeah. And so it makes, the best part about doing about it in this way is not only do most people see a combination of building muscle and losing fat, they also are setting themselves up so much better for the long term, and as far as their metabolism, which you touched on. So again, the body wants to adapt to homeostasis. So if you are constantly feeding it, 1,200 calories, the body will adapt its metabolism down to make that its normal. Versus if you push the calories up and you get stronger, and then, maybe it's 2,200 calories is now your homeostasis, or your maintenance is what we would call it. Then if you're like, okay, now I do want to try to really lose body fat and get lean. Well, now if you drop back down those calories, instead of having to drop down from 1,200 to like 700 calories, which would be absurd to eat that little, now we could go from 2,200 down to maybe 1,700, and that's still a decent amount of food. You're not 1,700 is not a ton, but you're not starving yourself. It's reasonable and much more achievable. And that also creates so much more flexibility for when, if your maintenance is higher and you have a birthday party or you have a holiday and you want to have that one bad meal. For those people that chronically diet and they have that one bad meal wrecks them, and they put on a bunch of body fat from that, because their body's like, whoa, like we got food. We need more body fat. Let's store it. So yeah, again, not to get too nuanced and crazy into the subject of metabolism, because it can be complicated. Mm-hmm. That's a bird's eye view of how I try to look at things in a very different approach.
And that is an amazing approach too, because like a lot of people, like they will skip meals, or they, what's it called? They
fasting.
Yeah, they fast in a bad way. And like,
yeah, I can't stand fasting.
So it's like one of those things like where I think that my body has been freaking out for the longest time. I would eat one meal a day, and it's because I'm not hungry in the morning. I don't understand why. But my doctor, even you told me this. It's like that's awful. You don't do that. You want to eat in the morning. You want to eat a lot, but not a lot. You want to eat, but you want to eat in like spurts throughout the day so that your body is consistently getting food so it stops freaking out. That's my understanding of it, at least.
Essentially, yeah, when it comes down to like meal timing, just to like, whether you eat twice a day or 6 times a day doesn't really matter that much. But there's nothing magical about fasting. There's nothing magical about not eating for 16 hours. Like there's going to be people that are like, oh, the cell autophagy, which is a fancy way for like recycling of cells. They say that that's some magic thing and it's like, cancer preventative and whatnot. And the thing is whenever you take intermittent fasting and you control it and you compare it to eating the same amount of calories, but eating whenever you want, there is no difference. There is not a difference. I'm not saying fasting doesn't have benefits. It can have benefits in the sense of like, if your GI system is just all sorts of messed up, you need to give it a rest. It makes sense to do a fast and just give your stomach and your GI system a rest. Or spiritual fasting. That's why fasting started. Fasting has been around for thousands and thousands of years. It dates back to like the most earliest religions. And that's where fasting originated from. And so there is benefits for people to fast and to disconnect from different things. But as from a perspective of losing weight or seeing aesthetic body changes, I would never recommend fasting.
I can definitely agree with that. And like one of the common things that if you scroll through TikTok, which I'm sure a lot of us have, they've been popping in and out. One of the things that I hate about TikTok right now is they're heavily promoting apple cider vinegar gummies, thinking that it's going to be some like instant gratification that, all you have to do is drink coffee with lime juice, or all you have to do is eat an apple cider vinegar gummy before every single meal. So you could spend more money on the apple cider vinegar gummies and then you can eat whatever the hell you want. I think anyone with a medical background can pretty much tell you that's not going to be the case. Sorry, TikTok. But the whole supplement industry is frustrating because it is.
As someone, now that I am officially like a personal trainer, I'm a nurse, and people know that fitness is a major part of my life, and they've seen the results that I've had, I get more questions where people are like, yo, what do you think of this supplement? Instead of, people asking about like the actual big pillars of what sleep, nutrition, fitness. Like those are the big pillars when it comes down to it. There is no magical supplement, even creatine, which creatine is well renowned as like kind of the one supplement that might actually be a noticeable effect. Even creatine doesn't come anywhere close. Not even it's a drop in the bucket compared to what proper, sleep, nutrition, and fitness will do for you.
And yes, sleep, nutrition, in proper fitness, like seriously, like everyone keeps like trying to like outdate that, or they're like, I can go stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning and I promise you I'll be fine. No, you gotta have a sleep schedule, because a healthy mentality will help your body react to your mental. And a lot of people forget that, which is why streamers do struggle with this the most, and content creators struggle with this the most. Like being on a solid schedule, creating that schedule is so great for your mentality. Like, which is why when I schedule podcasts, I'm talking with you for a month or and a half in advance. I'm not just going to give myself 2 weeks, because not only am I going to be doing the person I'm bringing on the podcast a disservice, I'm going to be doing myself a disservice, and I'm going to start stressing about it for no reason. And I'll tell you what, now that I have my sleep schedule, I can work my 9 to 5, I can create the content. Shoot, I even went on a vacation last week, and I'm not stressing about anything when it comes to the podcast, which means now you guys are seeing me in a healthy mindset, having a good conversation with somebody else who's also not stressed because they know it's going to be put on in a proper way. Like, mentality is a huge part of fitness and content creation, and that's where a real cool similarity is there.
Yeah, 100%. And I would say, with on top of the mentality thing, just at the end of the day, as long as you're enjoying what you're doing, that makes such a difference. And so, like, me personally, one thing I'll fully admit is this year with Call of Duty and Warzone was the first year since like early Warzone 2 that I was like, I'm not fully enjoying this. I'm not like the only thing that's kept me around is like my community, is I'm like, I'm going to be there for them. But it's crazy because I hear from a lot of them, they're like, yeah, I don't even play Warzone anymore. Like, I still watch you and support you because I, enjoy being here in the streams and stuff. But I'm like,
To be honest, I have actually switched over to multiplayer, and I felt way
really?
better because Warzone is just in such a shit state right now.
Yeah, it's
Like
frustrating.
it is really, really frustrating, and it's annoying because seriously, the state of Warzone is in such a bad state, and we could talk about this forever, which is why like when Black Ops 7 comes out and Warzone 4 comes out, they're starting to like kind of pull away from things. And I don't know if it's a passion perspective from a developer's perspective, but I'm not going to get overly analytical with it.
Yeah.
But playing a bad game consistently is going to stress out your mental, which is going to cause you to it all reflects based off of your like physicality and stuff like that too.
100%. Yeah, no, this is the first time where like yesterday, I always stream. I normally stream mostly like Monday through Friday, and yesterday I was just like like I have no urge to stream right now. Like I was just kind of in like a bad mood because I'm just very frustrated with the way content and things like that, and just the state of the game. And so I was like, guys, I'm sorry, I'm taking the day off. I'm just like, I'm not in the mood to be there. And I feel bad. It sucks to do that. And so that's why I am glad that I started the fitness route of things, because I'm just like, this stuff, I'm like, sweet, I love this. This is like, not only is it just straight up fun to do, it's also, it feels more rewarding as far as like seeing, people that I've been working with now for a few months, and they're like, oh my gosh, like I could have never believed that like I'd be able to eat this much food and still be seeing results. And like, I feel so strong. Like people are complimenting me. Like hearing that, like, although yes, it's great when like, Timmy's like, TCap, you made my KD go from a 1 to a 3. And I'm like, sick, dude. Like, that's awesome. But it's way cooler to have someone be like, I feel confident. I've never felt better. Like that's a big dopamine hit for me to hear that instead.
So, and that is also, that's amazing to hear that, like, because you're seeing success within the programs that you're putting on. So how do you see the future of fitness and gaming evolving? This is a question that I really wanted to touch on, because
okay,
I feel like more creators should be following your lead when it comes to like fitness and mental health. But
yeah,
how do you see the future of fitness and gaming evolving?
Right now I feel like this is probably the most like anxious that like humans have ever been.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is because of the rise of technology. We humans are meant to be people that interact with others and have communities. And the more and more technology we have, the less those community spaces are. Like it's not uncommon it's not uncommon nowadays for people to work from home and then in their free time they play video games. Yes, they might have their Discords and their gamer parties that they game with, but like we're lacking that human interaction.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that to me is kind of something that I feel like eventually we're going to be in like Ready Player One, where it's like we're gaming, but like we're able to be there in a real open world setting, and we're interacting with others more. I think like that human interaction is going to be really cool as games advance, and the
open world games and stuff.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. I think that'll be a huge thing I see for gaming. And gaming and fitness, how it ties together is I just think more people are eventually going to start recognizing that this isn't good for them to sit around all day long. And they're going to be like, yes, the game distracts me and I feel good when I play it, but as soon as I get off, I am just like anxious and I feel uncertain and depressed, or whatever word it is you want to use. And so that's where I just so encourage people, like, if you don't know what to do, like, just go take a walk outside a few times a day. Like, put on a podcast, put on an audiobook, listen to music, whatever it is you enjoy, and just go take 15 minutes a day to get outside. Like, I can't even say, like, when I am stressed, like it used to be, I'd want to like jump on my computer and distract myself through social media or gaming or something. Now, like if I'm having at all a stressful moment, I am like, I'm going out for a walk, and nothing makes me feel more just, I don't know, relieved, I guess, besides doing some sort of physical activity. So
I can definitely agree with that.
Yeah. And then just, find something that you enjoy. It doesn't need to be, you don't need to be like some fitness meathead and like be obsessed with trying to be as strong or like being good at a sport. Like whatever activity you enjoy doing that gets you outside and gets you somewhat active, whether it's biking or rollerblading or pickleball or swimming, whatever it is, just find something to do and make it a regular habit that fits into your day.
And like on that note, like something that I'm trying to do for myself is to get myself in a good enough shape so that I can go play ice hockey again. I'm a huge avid fan of ice hockey. I played in high school. I played in college. It was a lot of fun. I played defense. I played left wing. I even played goalie from time to time. But I like to talk about this mentality when it comes to mental health and like even gaming, because like being a goalie in hockey is one of the most difficult things that you can possibly imagine. Your reflexes have to be so quick to be able to grab that. And like you can't have those quick reflexes if you're bogged down with mental disarray. Like you gotta really focus on your mental and taking that time to go out on those walks and getting into shape and focusing on you is super important. And I see this in a lot of like gamers where you can start seeing burnout in the stuff that they do. And I want to actually shout out Steffi Evans for what she's done from an IRL perspective, from working on herself and like just being like really she's doing everything right. She put herself on her own schedule and you can see her mentality grow. And like you can see her being more vibrant in her streams. Like guys, people take notice. So physical health is extremely important.
Yeah, to add to that, when I started, it's funny to look back on it. Like at the beginning of Warzone 2, we had just moved to where we are now, and physical activity was not a part of my life like whatsoever. And on top of in Warzone 1, it was like okay because I was so obsessed and enjoyed content creating and streaming in the game that like I wasn't, as happy as I could have been, but I was in a good enough spot where like it didn't matter. But then as soon as like I had no capacity to handle stress. And so when Warzone 2 hit, and then like all of a sudden, like I just bought this new house, I had a mortgage to pay. I'm freaking out about how I'm going to pay my bills because like Warzone 1, I was killing it. Like I was, it was like I couldn't miss with shorts. Like every short was like 1 million views. And then Warzone 2 hits and it's like,
well, the oversaturation with shorts is a whole other thing. It's like even everybody inside of Warzone 2 and like Warzone 3, like no one actually, well, I don't want to say no one. It's gone really, really far downhill. A lot of people care more about like the Fortnite stuff that's been coming out than Warzone at this point. But I mean, that kind of ties in with how like during COVID, Warzone hit huge because of the game mode that it presented to us versus now.
Yeah. But when I did start, when fitness started becoming serious, and then especially once I actually started working with a trainer and I got my nutrition, I got my sleep in check. So especially by then, once I'd been doing it for a good year and like MW3, Warzone 3 had rolled around, and I actually was back in good shape. I was walking, I was doing all the things that I've been talking about so far. Not only did my mood and like just like my personality and like my performance on stream go up, but I will say from a like reflexive standpoint, that's like the best I ever was at. I mean, I think I'm still on the same level relatively, but like I got better in the game because I got better IRL, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, it does, because like as we touched on earlier and like what we have talked about, like having that positive mentality is going to affect your gameplay. And like having a positive mentality and a positive physique, which affects your mentality. That's kind of what I wanted to go with that. So where can people sign up, and how can they sign up, and what can they expect when they join TFit?
Yeah, the best way would be actually to go to my TfitX Instagram. It's tfit.x. I have like a link tree in there, and there's a free application. Everything I usually try to, I don't like to just like list everything. I like to get into a call with somebody and really figure out what their needs are, because I do have a lot of different options that it depends on the person, what someone's looking for as far as their goals and whatnot. And so usually I always have a totally free consultation call where it's like, what are your goals? Where are you right now? Let's make sure you are a good fit for the program. Because if you come to me and you're like, I want to be the best like ballerina dancer, or like I want to do long distance marathon running. Like that's not my niche. Like, can I help you generally improve your cardio? Yes, but like what my goals are body recomposition. So people that want to improve their overall physique, and especially from a healthy, sustainable standpoint. Those are kind of like the two big overarching things that I focus on. So yeah, I would say fill out the application. The application will take you like 2 minutes to do. It's like 5 questions. It's basically just so I can get your info and see what your goals are. And then I'll reach out to you and we'll set up a call. I do now, some people, they don't want to work with a coach. Like they want to do their own thing. So if that's the case, also in that same link tree or whatever, I do have a 90-day transformation program, which is 100% self-led. And this is basically,
we got a little froze again here for a moment. He'll pop
what
back
I would
in
do
a
with
sec.
the majority of my. Oh, lag.
Yeah, I don't know if it was.
There we go.
There we go. We got you back.
Okay. So the 90-day transformation is basically a blueprint of what I would do with the majority of my clients from a diet, fitness, and lifestyle perspective. So it has a workout program for the entire 90 days. It is 2 different programs. So there's kind of one for the first half, and then you go to the second half. There's a gym and home version, depending on what equipment you have. It gives you tips on how to progress week by week. There's a video, like a how-to video for every single exercise in there, in case you're unfamiliar with any of these. From a nutrition standpoint, it takes you through that process of trying to increase the metabolism and build muscle, and then through the process of actually a more dedicated fat loss phase. And then also there's other lifestyle factors like, recommendations for sleep, for activity, steps, a lot of other things in there. So that is a, very affordable, low cost option that is on there. So I believe, I think I'll have to remember I think it's T25. I'll have to double check on that. There's a code to get it like 25% off or $25 off. So if anyone's interested from that route, but then I really just encourage, like, if people are clueless, just like shoot me a message, shoot me a DM, whether it's Instagram, tfit.x, my Twitter, which is TcaptainX_. Either of those places would be great places to reach out to me if you're just like totally unsure and not sure where to go.
And I'm actually really excited to partner with TCAP doing that 90-day thing. So make sure you guys follow me with what I'm doing. I'm going to be trying to post a lot of my stories on Twitter. I'm going to be trying to work with TCAP throughout the next 90 days, and like continue what I've been doing with Megan Boudway as well, who is another really awesome resource. There's somebody from the kick side who's been doing a lot of fitness stuff as well. Like there's really, really good things that are starting to come out. And I urge everybody to really start focusing on their fitness and their mental health. Like it is such a big part. I'm a huge advocate of mental health, a huge advocate of fitness, especially going into the gaming space and the content creation space. So we talked about the fitness program. We talked about mentality when it comes to like content. What is one thing that you recommend to new and aspiring creators, whether it be fitness related or whether it be content related or streaming related?
I mean, the overarching thing for anyone that I think wants to be successful in today's day and age, which we touched on earlier, was you got to prioritize your content first. So, that's definitely from a growing your content perspective. But I would say from a overall, like, that's going to cover everything, is having a rough schedule and dedicating time for yourself, dedicating rest time, time for sleep, time to prepare your meals, and, have a little bit of physical activity. Like, listen, you are going to have to make sacrifices in anything. Like any CEO or content creator or whatever it may be you have those periods where like you have to grind. And it's not like, if you want to be successful, it's not like it's going to be like, oh, I get to have my, 2-hour meditation in the morning and then I do it. It's not going to be easy. Like you are going to have to make those sacrifices. And for me, it was 100%. Like I said, I sacrificed my fitness and my sleep and all those things so that while I was balancing my full-time job as a nurse, I was also growing as a content creator. But like there is light at the end of the tunnel, where once you get to a certain point, you get to pull off the gas a little bit and start rededicating that time to yourself or to, your relationships with others or whatever that may be. And so there was actually a conversation I was having with someone who started working with me. They work a full-time job, they're an aspiring streamer, and they wanted to get their fitness in check. And I told them, there's a kind of like a rough quote. I'll probably butcher this, but basically, like, you can be great at anything you want to, but you cannot be great at everything. So I told them, I was like, what is most important for you? Is it, becoming that full-time streamer? Is it getting your fitness in check? Is it taking care of your family and providing for them? And then, they said, number one is my family. Number two is my health. Number three is streaming. And I was like, cool. I'm not telling you to quit streaming and quit trying. But if you're telling me that your family and your self-health are more important, right? Because they were just someone that they were completely sacrificing their sleep. They're getting like 4 hours of sleep a night. I'm like, you are not going to be successful in any of these things if you are, putting yourself on the back burner like that. And so I was like, listen, like, I'm not telling you to quit, but we've got to find a schedule and readjust some of your focuses so that you can be successful, get these parts to where we can kind of maintain them, and then we can up the gas pedal on other things. So yeah, that balance is huge.
And I couldn't agree more with that. Like, you'll constantly hear me say that 95% of like the importance of mentality for streamers is introspection. Looking into yourself, discovering what you need for yourself to make yourself happy, to make yourself vibrant, to put yourself into this position and be able to be successful. Streaming isn't easy. Fitness isn't easy. Life isn't easy. But you know what is easy? Making a choice. And I know that you guys can definitely do that as well. So I loved that quote, because it's just a super easy thing that kind of sums things up. But yeah, the grind is real. And one thing I don't think we touch on enough is the small streamers or new streamers, they focus on their numbers and analytics, but stop focusing on the ones in the moment. Focus on them after your live streams. It doesn't matter if you're streaming to 1 viewer, 0 viewers, or 20,000 viewers. What matters is, are you happy with the product that you're putting forward? And that goes with fitness as well.
Yeah. Ultimately, you've got to enjoy the process. Like, if you're not enjoying it, and that's something where it's like, people are like, how could you enjoy, putting yourself through pain? Because like, working out is generally an uncomfortable experience. And there's something that and especially working out's one of those things too, that like, there is no instant gratification. Like, yes, the work here, like when you're actually in the gym, you are tearing your muscles down. You're actually causing harm, but you're trying to set yourself up to adapt and recover beyond that new baseline. So it's something that it's like, I just have genuinely enjoyed the process of seeing, like, when you are consistent for, weeks and months on end, then you look back and you're like, whoa, like, I am way stronger. I look a different way. I feel a different way. And, like for me recently, like you were mentioning that you wanted to get back to playing hockey. I'm getting back into playing slow pitch softball. And so nice. Although I've been working out and I'm strong and all those things, something that I have neglected a little bit over the last few years is kind of like my agility, things like that. And I've been, working on some old knee injuries from when I played football. And so that's been a new shift. And so like this past week, the past few weeks, now that I'm, we're well into our softball season, I'm like, you know what? I actually feel good at playing softball. I can come home from a game and I don't feel wrecked where like my knees feel like crap. Like I've gotten to a point where I'm like, this is fun. And it's just like another good way to do something. So setting those little goals along the way, but not overly focusing on the aesthetics or the scale, focus more on how you feel, I think is just such a bigger thing.
I couldn't agree more. And honestly, like when it comes to these things, like I joined an intramural kickball team because it's something I can do to kind of be active, and like I can take my Sundays and do what I want to do on Sundays. But don't forget about the importance of off days too. And yes, you don't want to just go. Like in the streaming world, it's a grind. You're doing a crap ton of things, very quick amount of time, whether it be reaching out to people, collaborating, or whether it just be editing videos, whether it be trying to develop your schedule, or even just doing what you do on a live screen. But fitness is exactly the same thing too, because you're going to be doing a lot in a short period of time, and also a lot in a long period of time. But you want to have that mentality of take it slow. It's a hill, but you're going to climb it, you know?
Yeah,
So-
no, I completely agree. Yep, 100%.
So, do you have any closing words that you'd like to talk either about your content, either about yourself, or about fitness in general?
Nothing, I think we covered a lot of things today.
Yeah, we have.
Nothing in particular. I think, again, with people, start small. It start small and enjoy the process is where I would go with from that. And just like when you, with your mentioning there on the rest days and stuff like that, I think that's probably the biggest thing that people get wrong in the fitness space is how much work is required to see amazing results. I think people, because the results are so delayed, that people just think, oh, I just need to do more and more and more, when instead them sticking to, a reasonable thing that works with their schedule, working out maybe 2 or 3 times a week will get them so much farther in the long run. And even myself, as someone who is a personal trainer and like fitness is a major part of my life, like I work out usually 4 times a week. Like I'm not the person who's working out like 6-7 days a week. And on those off days, I walk and I stretch and I relax, and those serve you as well. So whether you're a content creator, like, yes, like it's a grind, but have those little moments where you kind of recharge and you're like, you know what, like tonight I'm going to watch a show and I'm going to not think about whatever. And I'm going to just chill and recharge. Like that will also serve you a lot.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Well, TCap, I appreciate you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule.
Yeah, thanks
also,
for having me on.
shout out to TCap. Happy birthday, TCap. So,
Thank you.
But thank you so much for joining the podcast, talking about your stuff. And if you guys are ever interested, hit him up on Twitter, hit him up in Discord, reach out to him. He's an awesome dude. And he'll definitely he wants to help people. He's doing a great thing for so many people. But thank you so much, TCap. And thank you so much for the podcast. You guys have a wonderful day.